Welcome back to Spa Talk. This is Megan DiMartino, live from the Novita Spa on the Square in Georgetown, Texas, with BeFirstInMedia.com. And Janet, you were sharing about just not only the necessity, but the reality of dangers of having treatments specifically you spoke about in nail salons. And so before we go on with questions that people have called in and tweeted, I'd like you to share with the audience about your business that you've created in the last 5-6 years. And this, I know, has stemmed or evolved from your passion about the safety of the client, the consumer, in salons and spas. So just share a little bit about your business, the name of it, how did it evolve, and what does it do, and then we'll go on to these questions from the audience.
Well, first of all, I feel it's a privilege to be able to do what I do. When I was seeing things that were happening starting in 2000 and 2003 when the two people died in Texas, and there's people all over the United States that have become ill from this. I was still working at the time. Then I retired, and I decided with a podiatrist that is a friend of mine that we would start training nail technicians properly in how to work with people who are at risk, or even how to work properly with healthy people so things will not be passed on from a prior client or some other way. This business is online. It's an online course for nail technicians, salon-based, and it also has a course for ones that want to go to work for podiatrists, because podiatrists really disliked nail technicians because of the infections they saw coming into their salons, into the offices all the time. So Dr. Spalding wrote some courses on it, and we have gotten together, and now we have the courses, exams, and certifications. And one of the prestigious podiatry associations is very much supporting of what we're doing and provides our graduates with certificates now.
How wonderful. Really awesome. Well, you mentioned before we took our break, you started talking specifically about diabetes. And while we were on break, because that just created many, many questions, and while we were on break, a gentleman, John from Illinois, tweeted and said, I am a diabetic, and I do go for pedicures on a regular basis to protect and care for my feet, because I know that that is one of the challenges of diabetes.
Yes.
Would you speak to that?
Yes. First of all, I really have to compliment you for being careful in your lifestyle with having pedicures all the time, because you are right. Having them properly trimmed, or nails that are too long or too thick or have fungus or anything like this, is very dangerous for a diabetic. In the year 2000, the number of diabetics in the United States had grown over since 1920, when they started taking care of it, to a mere percentage of 5.8, which of course is a huge number of people in our population. Between 2000 and 2011, it went from that to 11.3%. So whether it's because the baby boomers are becoming older, or because our population is healthier and staying alive longer, so developing chronic illnesses, we don't know. But they expect it, actually, the CD says it may get to be 20% by 2020. And these people need to be careful about going to nail salons. It may be using dirty implements.
Right.
I recommend going to a salon that only uses sterilized implements. For example, Megan's salon has her implements cleaned well at the sink and then put into a bag and then sterilized inside a sterilizer. And when they are finished in the sterilizer, they stay in that bag until they are ready to be used in the salon. Those are the only safe ones to use, because if you have for example, let's say one of the salons is conscientious enough that they at least wash them off. That is not enough. Washing does get off 95%. That's not enough for someone that is chronically ill. So you have to have someone using sterilized implements. You have to have someone using new emery boards for every client. You have to have someone using clean towels. MRSA is passed on very quickly on dirty towels, just by someone that is carrying it on their skin, leaning on the towels. They have to have a clean towel, clean towels for every step of the pedicure. And they have to, of course, be wearing clean, new gloves. And if they have any kind of, like, for instance, sniffle cold or anything like that, they have to be wearing masks too. In Europe, in Asia, in Australia, our industry is very close to the health industry. They many times work with physicians. And here, it's just a beauty industry, but it's gotten past that. Things have changed in the United States. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this.
Yes, well, that's why I invited you to be part of Spa Talk, because as I said earlier, Janet, before you joined us, Spa Talk is going to be covering a lot of fun topics and a lot of fun things, men's skincare, eyelash extensions last week. But the interesting thing about that is that they all go back to sanitation. Carla Scott, who was our guest last week, spoke about the need of sanitation and sanitation awareness. For goodness sakes, you're dealing with the eye. So all aspects of the salon spa
Megan, let
industry.
me tell you, I just read recently of a person that had an eye infection in New York City, got herpes in her eye from an unsanitary eyelash applied. So that is true.
It's very, very, very scary, but it's also a very necessary thing for you, our guests, to understand, not to scare you. This is not scare tactics, but what this is an awareness. Awareness, clarity leads to power. And the more clear you can be about certain things, you know, Janet was speaking about, you know, businesses run by numbers. But what does that really mean? It means, she said, that they just one person after one person after one person, and they don't take the time between clients to clean out and sanitize that basin. The other thing that was very
it's not only the basin, though, Megan. I'm sorry.
Sure.
The basins that have whirlpool jets in them.
I was just about to say that, Jan.
Yeah,
I was just about to say, I was just about to say that what's interesting is in probably the last 15, 18 years, the prevalence of the whirlpool jets and the massagers in the back have become a staple in nail salons. But interestingly enough, the jets are the culprit of disease. They hold and lock in that disease. Speak to that a bit, Janet.
Yes. They have to be able to take them apart and disinfect them between. If they can't be taken apart, they're not going to be sanitary. And that's where, in California, in one salon alone, they had 120 women that developed a Pseudomonas infection. No, excuse me, a bacterium infection. And that infection left scars. It was very ugly. And it was from a bacteria that normally is fine. But when it gets past certain numbers, it becomes pathological. When they pulled out those jets on those spas, they had clumps of hair from the legs and skin and everything. They had not been cleaned ever, probably
ever, right.
If they are not cleaned, you are not safe. So that means they have to take time between pedicures to clean them. Some of them will say, we put chemicals in and run it for 10 minutes. That's not enough if those will not come apart and be brushed cleaned first. There's a lot to that. And a good salon, a good spa, will know that and know how to do it between in a timely manner.
We have another question, Janet, from Susan. And Susan, it's a great question, asks, wow, well, actually she wrote, wow. And because this is just awareness and raising one's consciousness. But she said, after saying wow, she said, how do I go about choosing a salon that does what you're ascribing to, this sanitary, safe spa? How does one go about? Are there questions that they should ask when they call and make an appointment?
Yes. When I've done this a lot, just walking into a salon when I'm somewhere, just walking in and asking them, and I don't tell them lies, though most people can't do this. I say that I'm a former dental hygienist. I'm very, very concerned about sanitation and disinfection. What is your policy? And many times they just look at you blank. The people that are doing it correctly will be able to show you implements that are either immersed in a disinfection liquid, cleaned first, immersed in there, and or also show you a sterilizer. Texas law is that they should use sterilizers. I believe that over the next 15 years, the other states will be. But the salons that are turning over people really quickly lobby heavily in the legislatures to prevent that.
That's the key.
Because they don't want that to happen.
No. Because that's the key. You can smoke screen it. You can have an autoclave sanitation unit. You can have providers wearing gloves. But again, it's that monitoring, and if they're the term that you used, run by numbers. It's impossible. We all see it, and we've all walked into salons that operate that way. And so that's why, Janet, thank you so much for visiting with us today, because I will ask you back in future weeks to talk about other topics on Spa Talk, because you have been, as I said earlier, a pioneer in so many realms, in so many aspects, and you have so much information. But I felt that it was important to start with sanitation, because it's a foundation and it's a primary aspect that the consumer who is not aware needs to be aware of, and choose wisely, choose where they're going based on their own health and their own well-being. And it's more than just the latest color and getting in and out quickly. So Janet, I thank you so very much for joining us today on Spa Talk, and we will be back shortly. Thank you.